What's up, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. It's time for a recap of what went down on last night's episode of the Teen Mom OG Reunion Special Part 2. Quick heads up. Cheyenne Floyd is officially engaged to Zach as of, I think it was Sunday night. Sorry, I didn't make a video. I've been catching up with people because I need that vitamin C. Is it vitamin C? Vitamin D? I need that sun vitamin that is going on out there because it's been a while since I've been outside. So I haven't been making too many videos. Anyway, getting into what happened in last night's episode of the show, Taylor still has his foot on Jen and Larry's necks, y'all. Like, then Jen dared Taylor and Macy to play the recording that we left off at in last week's episode where Macy's like, dude, like, what are you talking about? This is how we got the protection order against Ryan. He pled guilty to it. He was threatening my husband on the damn phone. What do you mean play the recording? Jesus. And then Jen, realizing that she looks a damn fool, parrots Dr. Drew and says that Macy and Taylor aren't putting Bentley first right now. Ultimate deflection, right? Taylor then calls him out for telling Bentley that they can't have birthday parties for him without Ryan present. You know, when Jen was like, okay, tell us about how we guilt trip Bentley. We never guilt trip Bentley. That was his example. And I was disgusted by these two weirdos. Like, are you kidding me? A birthday party for your grandchild, and your grandchild doesn't want your son around him, and you start guilt tripping him like that? There is something wrong with these two people. They are so toxic, but it's the kind that is insidious, you know, that you don't even really notice it because they cover it up with, like, you know, being so nice. And it's so hard for me to like cut out my son. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're those types. At that point, Macy and Taylor decide they're leaving. They've had enough of these two. So they start walking away. Then Jen and Larry start trying to be cool. And Dr. Drew's like, wow, like there are a lot of like people who are hurt here right now. And they go, well, it seems like it's more them who are hurt and not us. And that was like such a big mistake because they sounded like clowns and set Macy and Taylor up for the ultimate clapback. You know, they go, yeah, we're hurt for our son because nobody else gives an F about how he feels. Although that was the perfect clapback, I do have to say that, listen, these two are not the perfect parents that they're trying to portray themselves as being on this show right here, right now, always considering Bentley's feelings, because I have a couple of questions. Were they considering Bentley's feelings when they chose to air all of this that we're currently watching out on the show? I don't think so. This is horrible. This is so freaking embarrassing for his classmates, his teachers, his coaches to watch play out with his family. Were they considering his feelings when they had him record his conversation with Mimi Jen about his ultimatum or whatever for the birthday party on the show? I don't think so. Was Macy considering his feelings when she called his freaking therapist and asked about his private therapy appointment on air for all of us to listen in on? I don't freaking think so. Anyway, Macy and Taylor leave the reunion and Dr. Drew confronts Jen and Larry about the nasty things that Ryan had said about Macy, you know, this year. And then Jen, the deflector, when Macy started calling her out for being like really manipulative, I started seeing it. You know, she goes, well, are we talking about the stuff that Ryan said like this year or like 10 years ago? As if to say that Ryan did not say anything negative about Macy this year. Like, sis, are you dumb? What do you think Taylor has been yelling about these past 10 minutes? It was stuff that Ryan said about his wife, Macy, this season. He called her an evil bitch, and you know that. Stop playing stupid. Jen then actually has the audacity to accuse Taylor of being jealous of Ryan. And I was like, what does Ryan have that Taylor or literally anybody can be jealous of? You know, like his son hates him, as we can see. He doesn't want to see him unless he goes to freaking therapy. How embarrassing is that? His brain is fried from all the drugs he's allegedly doing. He's been arrested and in and out of like rehabs over the past several years. He's married to what I would consider to be a literal predator that I'm sure he doesn't even remember marrying because she made sure he was nice and high for that ceremony on the sidewalk. There's nothing more delusional than a mother's love. I swear to God. Sometimes people like to use the excuse of, oh, like we don't actually watch the season. But literally when they got on that stage that day, production rolled the tape for them to watch. And I know because I saw them like watch the footage of Ryan and Mackenzie calling Macy an evil bitch multiple times. Like she knew that Ryan was saying stuff this year. So her going, oh, like 10 years ago, please Please give me a break, Jen. And speaking of manipulative, did anybody else notice that tears never actually fell when Jen was like, crying or sobbing or dry heaving or whatever it was that she was doing that entire segment? Again, did you guys also notice that her husband literally was always turned away from her, never checking in on her, consoling her, or anything like that? And actually when they finished the segment, because like once Dr. Drew like goes, okay, well, that's it. Thank you, blah, blah, blah. They pan out to the set, and what happens? Larry gets up and just walks on out as his wife is over there dry heaving in the background. That relationship is so weird. It's not just their relationship with Ryan, but their relationship with one another. I give them the side eye for that as well. Next up was Mackenzie McKee. Guys, I've been skipping through her all season. I couldn't stand her this season, which was really disappointing to me because I loved her first season and I wanted her to get a second season. But this fake marriage, whatever stuff that she's going through is just, it's not my thing. So I was skipping through her, and like on mtv.com or .ca or whatever, they only let you skip in 10-second intervals. So I got to that point of her calling Kamala Harris like a colored woman or something like that. And I was like, oh, well, I might as well watch. I hope Nessa drags her the same way that she dragged Janelle for her, Colin Kaepernick comments. But Max said that she used a word that she thought was quote unquote politically correct, which to me was like, that's very shady. Why wouldn't you say I used a word that I thought was respectful? Why would you say I used a word that I thought was politically correct? Because to me, in my mind, I'm like, well, what did you want to call her then? If you had to switch to something that you thought was politically correct, were you trying to call her the N-word or something, Mac? Like, that was very weird to me. It was a very odd choice of words, She's like, when I realized it was racist, I woke up the next morning and I called color of change so that a colored woman could explain to me why. You know what I mean? It's like, I am so sick of like Black people and people of color in general having to quote unquote educate grown ass white people on what racism is. I'm sorry. White people, you know what the F racism is. You just like to play dumb a lot. And I find it annoying. I find it a waste of time. I find it a waste of mental energy, a waste of emotional energy. I am so freaking sick of this. To me, she used this woman from Color of Change as a prop so that she could rehab her image. And it's like Mackenzie has said so many like things over the years about multiple races, not just like Black, but Native Americans. I think she said stuff about Hispanics as well. Like she has said a lot of like racist things that apply to a lot of different people. Like she's not dumb. Well, she is dumb, but she knows what she's doing. And to me, the fact that someone like a Black woman has to take time out of her day, where I'm sure she's got a lot more interesting things to do, to play this little racial savior or whatever the hell to a white girl who wants to rehab her image, and she's just going to continue saying stupid shit like this. I'm sorry. I can't. I skipped through it. I noticed Nessa didn't have anything to say through this segment as well, which I was like, you know what, whatever. I'm sure she's tired too. I'm sure she's tired of these girls. Anyway, next up was Kate with another pregnancy. And so they asked her about the letter that she sent to Carly, and she claims that she's going to try to start writing letters to Carly like once a month. And I'm like, sis, you can hardly brush your horse. I remember you tried to do a scrapbook for Carly with a year's notice and you couldn't even do that on time. So a letter a month is a little bit ambitious. Sorry, but come on. We've been watching this girl for 10 years. I think it's a little bit ambitious, but I digress. On a more positive note, though, Kate, as usual, this entire season, the reunion was no different. She looked good. Like she was glowing from the inside out. She just looked good and she looked happy. And she really has been in such a good place. So I'm really excited to see that for her. She says that Carly and Nova have actually been FaceTiming quite a bit lately, which was very nice and exciting to hear. Like, I feel like they're going to have a nice relationship, I feel like they're going to have a relationship when they're older. And, that's kind of cool, right? And by the way, apparently Nova asked why you placed Carly up for adoption, and then they explained it to her, which was quite nice as well. I feel like the way Kate was explaining that situation, it seemed like she was waiting for that to come out for a really long time, and she felt relieved that she could finally have that conversation with her daughter and lay the foundation for her continuing to understand it as she gets older. I don't think that Nova at 6 years old really gets it, but it's nice that dialogue has been opened. Caitlyn also says that she's looking into renting a space to start her own microblading practice August, but I'm like, she's like 3 months pregnant at this point. So I think she would be due around October or November, depending on when they filmed the reunion. She's saying also, oh, like, I'm scared that things will still be shut down. And I'm like, well, you're not having your baby until like October or November. So like, when are you planning to open this business? Like, wouldn't you be planning to open it, I don't know, late next year or something like that, to give yourself enough time? Because she still has like an infant at home. Veda's not even walking yet. She wasn't walking yet. And I don't think so. I don't know. I found that kind of like, just calm down, like work at that studio that you were training at for a little bit longer, and then worry about launching your own place. I remember when she was being shown around the different studios by her real estate agent, the agent asked her basic questions and she didn't even know yet. They were like, do you know what you're going to name it? No. Do you have a logo? No. Like, do you know this? Like, she didn't know anything yet. So I kind of feel like, have a business plan at the very least, and like start developing like your brand and stuff, then worry about, getting a location and everything. I feel like she's kind of putting the cart before the horse at this point, especially, being pregnant with her fourth child, third that they're going to be raising at their home. And, the other one is still very, very young as well. I think she's going to overwhelm herself. And that makes me worried for her, because when she gets overwhelmed, that's when she kind of starts to, really go through it. So anyway, we finally get Kristina to sit down with us next, you guys. And she describes her relationship with Leah as a relationship that is just as close, and bonded as her relationship with her two biological daughters. And then Dr. Drew pretty much cuts her off and goes, well, how do you think that makes Amber feel? It's like, well, who gives an F how that makes Amber feel? Like, why doesn't Amber try to have a real relationship with her own daughter over the years? Even before Kristina was in the picture, Amber was not really trying to have that much of a bond with her own daughter. Wasn't she letting convicts change her diaper on the second date? Like, Dr. Drew, really, who cares how that makes Amber feel? And then he continued it up. He was doubling down on the ignorance here. He goes, because, like, what about your daughter? Think about your own daughter. If another woman came along and had like, a close bond, if another woman was taking care of your daughters, wouldn't that offend you a little bit? Kristina goes, one of my daughters actually does have a stepmom and they've got a close relationship, and I encourage it because the more people in my daughter's life who love her and take care of her, the better. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, that's the answer of like an actual mom here, right? And it was such a good, like, clean, low key, like, are you well? Like, what kind of stupid ass question is this? All Amber can do at this point is actually try to have a relationship with her daughter. There's no excuse. She's always hiding behind mental health. But, you have all these long relationships with men. One of them, is living in freaking Belgium. He doesn't really speak your language. You sure as hell don't speak his languages. And you're managing to have that relationship for like over a year now, and you can't with your daughter. And like her stepmom and your baby daddy are trying so freaking hard to like push this for you. They're even watching your other child for you, and you still can't do it. No freaking excuse, you guys. None. So she also talks about why she wasn't really open to sharing the couch with Amber for this reunion. She's like, I'm just like, so, I hate that she publicly accused my husband of having an affair with her. Like, I wish that she came to me personally. And I totally get that from her front. And then she's like, she sure as hell apologized to Gary for it. And I still have not heard from her about those rumors. So Gary reveals that Amber, like a lot of like her mood swings and stuff like that, especially on social media, come from her reading all of, you guys's reading everybody's comments about her being a deadbeat mom, and it keeps her upset. Not upset enough for her to step up for her daughter, but just upset enough for her to go on live with her headphones and, give us a piece of her mind. So Kristina says that if it were up to Leah, she would honestly throw in the towel on her relationship with Amber. And then Gary says that she thinks that Amber is jealous of the relationship that Leah has with Kristina, but that it's not too late for Amber to have a relationship with Leah. It's not going to be the same as the one that she has with Kristina, which I totally get. Because listen, Kristina's the one who's been like mothering Leah over the years. She's taking her to her doctor's appointments and like, school, and helping her with her homework and stuff, being a day-to-day mom. And Amber, I guess she can have a little bit of like a cousin relationship with Leah down the line. And so they wrap up part 2 with a segment on the men. But listen, I don't I knew it was going to be corny. So I didn't really listen into it. I was drinking a soup. I was like, listen, my soup is getting cold. Let me give it like some full-time attention here. So I skipped it. But LOL at all the guys being there for the dad segment, except for Ryan. Taylor had already left the premises. Like, he turned around in his little Jeep and came back just to film this segment so that Bentley could have a dad representing him here. But Ryan, I don't know. He was nowhere to be found. Maybe he was at the bank or something. I don't know. But he sure as heck was not there for this segment. And to me, that says a lot. It says everything that needs to be said about him as a father to Bentley Cadence Edwards. Anyway, you guys, that does it. My thoughts and opinions on what went down on part 2 of the Teen Mom OG reunion that we saw last night. But as usual, I'm more looking forward to hearing what you have to say about everything. So please make sure to let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, and we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.